For each type of essay that you write, you will need to use certain vocabulary words. This video will talk about vocabulary that you can use in compare and contrast essays. In many essays, you will need to compare and contrast evidence or ideas to prove your point. There are many useful words that can be used to do this. Here's a partial list of vocabulary that you can use in a compare and contrast essay. We will look at a few of these and use them in sentences so that you can learn how to use them well in your essays. First of all, let's talk about what the words compare and contrast mean. When you are comparing things, you are looking at how things are similar or how they are the same. When you contrast something, you are looking at how things are different. This is what you do in a compare and contrast style essay. Let's look at a few vocabulary words you can use to compare things. In the same way is one set of words that can be used to compare two things. Here's an example sentence. Studying for an exam can be exhausting. In the same way, a job interview can also be draining. Another phrase that is often used to compare things is the phrase similar to. We could write our previous sentences in this way. The draining feeling after a job interview can be similar to the exhaustion of studying for exams. Now you can see the first phrase in the same way is used at the beginning of the sentence and is followed by a comma. The phrase similar to is in the middle of the sentence between the two things that you are comparing, but does not need a comma. Here's another example of how you can use the phrase in the same way. In the same way, finances can be an issue for many small businesses. Now you would use this sentence after another sentence that you were comparing with this idea. The following words are often used at the beginning of a sentence and also need to be followed by a comma. Similarly. Similarly, there is a need to conserve more energy worldwide. Here are a few more that you can use. At the same time. At the same time, there has been an increase in the overall revenue. Now, this is another phrase that can be used at the beginning of a sentence between two ideas that you want to compare. In like manner. In like manner, the sales have skyrocketed again this year. Compared with. Compared with the weather in Austria, the weather in Brazil is much warmer. Same as. The results from this month were the same as last year at the same time. You can also use these phrases to compare things. Both and. Both the managers and the employees were in agreement about the new policy. Not only, but also. Not only the number of tourists, but also the number of local visitors were down for the month. Now let's look at some contrast vocabulary. In contrast. In contrast, there is a need for more research to be done in testing the vaccine. This is another phrase that can be used at the beginning of the sentence, but needs to be followed by a comma. We can also use the phrase in contrast to. Rent has increased in contrast to previous years. You do not need a comma when you use the phrase in contrast to. Here are a few more. On the other hand. On the other hand, there is hope that the machine will speed up the processing schedule. In comparison. In comparison, the company has surpassed its financial goals for the year. Conversely. Conversely, rental properties have become more popular in that area. On the contrary. On the contrary, there will be a need for more equipment to finish the job correctly. The words whereas and while can also be used in the middle of the sentence, but these also need to have a comma. Summers can be very humid, whereas the winters are extremely dry. Or you could write the sentence using the word while. Summers can be very humid, while winters are extremely dry. You can often combine these words in the two sentences with a semicolon. Studying for an exam can be exhausting. In the same way, a job interview can also be draining. Be careful not to use a capital letter after this semicolon. Some people prefer summer. Conversely, others prefer winter. Again, you can see the semicolon here. By using these words and phrases, you will be able to compare your ideas in your essays. In addition, using these words correctly will strengthen your argument as well as help your essay to flow more smoothly. I hope you found this video helpful. Happy writing!